True lovers, have you ever felt like finding your soulmate is like waiting for avocados to ripen? Nothing, nothing, still nothing, then bam, overripe and married to someone else? I mean, come on, universe, throw us a bone or at least a text back. Hi, I'm Haim with Be Love Media, and today we'll chat about the juncture between the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching and your love life, verse 22. I'm passionate about turning ancient, poetic mysticism into practical wisdom you can actually use on dates, especially the ones where someone shows up wearing Crocs and emotionally unavailable. And if you stick around till the end of this video, I promise to gift you 3 practical tips for your dating life based on this verse 22, that might just change how you approach love. Before we dive in, if you ever try to align your chakras on a first date or whispered affirmations into your tea, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and ring that bell like it's a Tibetan singing bowl calling in true love. Now here's verse 22 of the Tao Te Ching. I got the Stephen Mitchell translation for this one. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. The master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings because she doesn't display herself. People can see her light. Because she has nothing to prove, people can trust her words. Because she doesn't know who she is, people recognize themselves in her. Because she has no goal in mind, everything she does succeeds. Close quote. So, those of you who know my story already know that I am here passionate to share what I found out as far as incorporating the 81 verses of the Tao Te Ching, this 2,600-year-old wisdom from ancient China, written during the Warring States period, where there was chaos and war everywhere in ancient China, by Lao Tzu, who right before he has given up on his home country, has left God knows to where, and on the border, the border soldier who recognized him as the sage that he was said, "Before you leave us, could you please write something for me, for us to live our life by?" And that's, according to the legend, how the Tao Te Ching, the 81 poems, the 81 verses of the Tao Te Ching were born. And I have found that by using, when I found myself at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, right before the pandemic erupted, about to be divorced for the 3rd time, realizing, oh my goodness gracious, I am doing everything wrong. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with what it is that I am following, thinking that that is the right way to do healthy relationships, to find the right partner, which is a painful point for me because I kept choosing the wrong partners for myself and I was not the right person for them. It goes both ways, right? And I decided to experiment on myself, to make myself the guinea pig of whether or not these ancient wisdom can guide one in pursuing a healthy relationship. I call it true love relationship, but heck, I'll take healthy. And versus, being married to a narcissist, or being married to a selfish person, or being a selfish person with another selfish person. Because you haven't found out that the way to live life in a meaningful way is through extending generosity to others, through, as I tell my son, being kind to one another, and being anything other than purely selfish as I go about my life. And 3 years later, or I should say 18 months after I made that decision to experiment, I found myself with being introduced to the love of my life 7,000 miles across the world when she was visiting her home country, and we met online in some mysterious synchronicity. And I recognized her qualities right away because I was viewing the whole dating process, the whole idea of interviewing a potential partner to bring into my life in a meaningful way through the eyes, through the lens of the Tao Te Ching. So let's see what are some 5 wisdom nuggets we can squeeze out of this verse 22. Quote, if you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. Close quote. What does that mean? A good partner isn't pretending to have it all together. Look for someone who's okay being a work in progress, because wholeness comes from honesty, not perfection. I'll give you an example that is a bit intimate, a bit vulnerable for me to share. As I, a lot of people, and you can see it all over social media when people are trying to hook up, or when you go to dating apps, how the whole, let's just say it, inauthentic profiles, the fake profiles, even if they're not lying per se, but just presenting only the best parts of myself, which sounds understandable. That's what you're doing when you're trying to sell a cell phone. But when you're looking for a true partner, for a lifelong partnership, don't you also want to know what's their pain points? Don't you want to share what are your pain points? If the answer is no for you, then you're just going to end up in some empty, meaningless, fake relationship that 3 years later, 9 years later, like in my case, would go nowhere. But when I was getting to know my Rachel, again, middle of the pandemic, we were gifted by the universe the gift of 3.5 months where we couldn't meet each other in person. She was 6,000 miles away. I was here in San Diego, California. And all we had was getting to know each other through video chat. And we took advantage of it all the way. We were talking hours every day, having fun knowing each other because we recognized ourselves in each other, and because the conversations were very authentic, I can say that. And at one point I was like, oh my God, I think this is going into a serious direction. And she was already considering coming all the way from Malaysia, her home country, back to the US, where she spent already 15 years on the East Coast. And it came up in a conversation. Would you consider coming to San Diego so we can get to know each other in person? And as she was considering it, I was like, well, hold on. Shouldn't I be honest with her about what my intentions are? For instance, financially. At that point, because of my past broken relationships and the tough lessons I've learned from that, including how couples should conduct themselves, especially in the beginning, financially, I realized that what I'm looking for somebody who's going to be true partner, also financially. Did I have the romantic conservative notion of I want to take care of all your needs, including financially, don't worry about anything, I pay for everything? Of course I did. That's just a way to show a loving act to a woman. If you're of romantic notions, traditional notions, conservative notions, nothing wrong with that. Some people are all about the egalitarian. That's okay too. At that point, I was of the egalitarian notion, meaning I'm looking for a 50-50 partner. I don't want to pay for all her bills. I want us to be true partners, because that for me at that time, and it's okay if somebody watching this disagrees with me, it's okay to have different views, but at the time I'm like, wouldn't that be amazing if we go into that relationship as true partners? Not one person paying for everything, not one person supporting the other, but rather two people contributing equally as we build our relationship into what could turn into a marital relationship. And I wrote that email to her, saying how I view it in the most loving and kind and generous way I could muster. And I was nervous to see how she would respond, but I was not nervous to the point where maybe I shouldn't say it. Maybe I should just let her come over and we'll figure it out, like maybe some other people would do. And I said, no, she needs to know. And I need to know what she thinks of it. Because if she's not into it, then maybe it's not the right person for me. I'm okay losing that option. Again, having no attachments. And sure enough, she read that email. I was nervous waiting for her response. And she said, totally get it. I said, I totally get it. Yeah, that makes sense. And she had her experiences to support why she would agree with that notion. And she said, listen, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. I got my own savings. I know it's going to take a while before I find a job if and when I come to San Diego, but I'm good with that. I'm chill. And you know what? That was a beautiful, authentic way to start a relationship without hiding the truth, without sugarcoating the truth, or maybe even by lying and saying, I gotcha, and then you're going to start having arguments when she comes over. Very intimate example, but something to think of when you're looking for a new partner, how you view a relationship that you want to create. Number 2, if you want to become full, let yourself be empty. Date someone who knows how to listen, pause, and make space. A person who doesn't fill every silence with chatter might be deeply grounded and present. Be careful, be eerie of those who talk until you're blue in the face and almost leave no room for you to interject. Be worried about yourself if that is you. And that used to be me. I'm a talker. Hey, that's part of what I enjoy doing this video. But can I pause when my wife or my girlfriend or my date or my family member is trying to share something without not listening and interjecting constantly or criticizing their views or making it about myself? Oh yeah, that reminds me, what you're telling me is reminding me of what happened to me 5 years ago. Well, hold on, I'm not done telling my story. So find people who are okay with stillness, can listen, and teach yourself how to do that. Go on a journey if you're not that, if you can't listen to others' shares. 3, because she doesn't display herself, people can see her light, close quote. Watch out for the humble glow, not the loud sparkle. People who don't need to impress often carry the most authentic light and make the best long-term partners. My first partner, my first wife, we had our lovely moments, but now I know that she might have been bipolar. She had strong mood shifts. There was a lot of yelling going on, sometimes for no apparent reason. I would come home from work, and we were early 20s. We were both kids, so I'm sure she's grown tremendously since then. And there would be a huge fight. So again, the loud sparkle. Some people, and that used to be me, would see it as a sexy feistiness, right? Oh, she's passionate. Well, let's look into it deeper. Second wife, we were both loud and fun and maybe funny. But what about the depth? What about the meaningfulness? At the time, I couldn't gauge that. I don't know if I had that. So it was both two quote unquote fun people having fun together, but the relationship wasn't deep to the point where it could last and endure. And number 3, my third wife was, now I know, covert narcissist, full on. She gave me the best gift of my life. She gifted me the gift of becoming a father, and I will be eternally grateful for that. But she's not well, unfortunately. There's just something to admit it. And mind you, this is not just criticism on somebody else. This means that I was the perfect partner for a person who was unwell. I was the perfect partner for a person who was selfish and self-centered. So it takes two to tango, right? If I attracted that, what does that say about me? Important for me to be accountable here. Number 4, because she has nothing to prove, people can trust her words. A great partner isn't trying to convince you of their worth. They live it. If someone's words and actions align effortlessly, that's gold. When I met my beloved Rachel, we, like I said, for 3.5 months, we were every single day on the video chat, getting to know each other, having a blast, having fun, cracking up, talking about spirituality, talking about what life is, what love could be, and every single time that we had our date, whatever time it was, we both showed up on time. Think about it. That's roughly 100 dates that we both showed up on time. What did that tell both of us about the other person? That maybe that person is reliable, is trustworthy, I can count on their word. Now, being on time could be for some people just a small example, but if it's consistent, it represents something to get excited about. I can count on that person if we become a serious couple. And what about those who are always late or often late, like my last wife, right? What does that mean? Well, maybe my time doesn't matter to her as much as her time matters to her. Maybe she cares more about her needs than other people's needs. Something to look into. That doesn't mean you break up right away. That doesn't mean you break it off right away, but something to look into, to be aware of. Number 5, because she has no goal in mind, everything she does succeeds, close quote. The best love grows organically. Avoid those trying to win dating like it's a contest. Go for someone who is enjoying the journey, not racing to relationship status. And that goes back to my point of we have to look at the dating process as an interview process. We are interviewing each other. We are getting to know each other and finding out if what we are looking for in a partner, heck, what we are looking for in a healthy relationship, never mind true love relationship, is something they can accommodate. If I'm looking for a generous relationship where we share everything we got, good and bad, we are authentic, we share all our secrets with each other, and there are no secrets, something great is happening there. If there are a lot of secrets, there's a lot of weird feelings, I'm not even sure if they're really faithful, I see them looking a lot outside the relationship. What the heck? Is that what I'm looking for? So don't race to a relationship status. Enjoy the journey and get to know them. And it's okay if they're not for you, no matter how charming, how gorgeous, how stunning, or how cool their social status is. If it's not what you're looking for, and if it doesn't feel right with every fiber of your being, don't do it. As somebody said before, it's only gonna get worse from there. If you are annoyed by them in the beginning, it's only gonna get worse. Find somebody who you're aligned with. Thank you guys for sticking around. 3 practical dating tips inspired by verse 22 as promised. Number 1, let go of needing to look perfect on dates. Show up real, a little messy, a lot sincere. Vulnerability builds connection faster than a curated Instagram story. You know, one of the things I've discovered through my years-long shadow work, as I like to call it, my inner work, to become a better person, to improve myself in the important areas to me, was that as human beings, we all have the same disorder. And this disorder is the desire to look good and the fear to look bad. We always feel like we have to show only our best parts, especially if we're obsessed with social media. Social media is a negative cultivating force to what I just said. People wanting to look good and avoiding looking bad. I'm looking for the person who is not afraid to show up with a stain on their shirt to a date. I'm looking for the person who their makeup is not perfect all the time, or their hair is just right all the time. Nothing wrong with looking great, but is there an obsession there? Is there, somebody who's always touching their hair? No offense, guys. There's a lot of people that do that. Guys and girls, by the way. To me, that's something for me to be weary of. Because if you're so obsessed with your looks, that tells me about your inner world. You're obsessed with how you look to others. You seek validation constantly. That's not a good recipe for a healthy relationship. Number 2, choose presence over performance. Don't try to control the outcome. Breathe. Stay open and let the Tao and your heart lead the way. How do you feel around them? I'm sure some of the people that you met and you will meet are so charming. I mean, amazing. How can you not be charmed by the charmers? But how do you feel around them? Do you feel you can tell them anything? Do you feel you have to hide your difficult stories because they look at you in give you a funny look when you shared something a little bit intimate? Do you feel like they're criticizing you a lot? Is that who you want to be around? Ask yourself. Number 3, honor your emptiness. It's fertile ground. If you're feeling lonely, don't rush to fill it. That's emptiness. That emptiness is sacred space for the right love to land. Can you stay with your loneliness? Can you realize that you can be alone but not feel lonely? You know, I went through a process in my specific case between the time I left my last previous wife, my worst relationship yet, and I'm saying that because I'm confessing my crime of choosing the wrong person and staying in the wrong relationship for that long and not realizing for roughly 9 years that this relationship either needs to grow or needs to go. It took me a long time, guys. Why? I must have been insecure. I didn't realize that I'm worthy of love. I didn't have self-love. And it wasn't until I realized it towards the end of our relationship that I started chanting affirmations of self-love, because I knew I have to create it from nothing, right? So I was rushing to fill it in my previous relationships instead of giving myself time to grow into loving myself, enjoying my own company, doing fun things without having somebody around me. And it's only then that I was able to do that I was able to recognize my beloved Rachel when she showed up, and she was able to recognize me because we were confident enough, secured enough in our aloneness, and ready for a meaningful relationship. True lovers, if this video resonated, if you laughed, learned, or questioned whether you too have been chasing sparkle over substance, then hit like, comment with your biggest aha moment, and subscribe to Be Love Media. Share this video with a friend who's dating someone who calls himself a spiritual entrepreneur but still texts like a raccoon in Mercury retrograde. And remember, you don't find love by chasing it. You become love by living it. Stay soulful, stay curious, and keep letting the Tao swipe right on your soul. Until next time, true lovers, stay weird and wonderfully aligned.